predictions of international analysts about a third world war are beginning to take shape. Nations will again face war in a global scale, plunging humanity again into the chaos and disaster.
We are increasingly conscious that what is happening in the world today is bringing us towards a global conflict. Regardless, the mass media is making titanic efforts to avoid panic, relating events with a quick summary rather than a full explanation. Why? The political class, our governments, are not interested in a society that is alert and worried. It could produce a civil uprising on an international scale that would be far from the interests of the elite. Because of this, they use their best weapon, the mass media, not only to hide information, but to advance a campaign of distraction. But we need only draw attention to all of the conflicts that are currently emerging. In Ukraine, in Syria, in Yemen, the conflicts between North and South Korea, which, depending on when you're watching this video, may have already erupted into war. The strong tensions between Venezuela and the United States, all of this, together with the world economic crisis that we are currently enduring, throws into conflict the world's principal powers, the United States, Russia, and China. It should be noted that these world powers are already adopting pre-war measures, preparing themselves for this war, which some analysts and economists believe could come as soon as this year. If we look at the facts that are emerging day after day, which worsen constantly the international situation, for example in Venezuela, where right now the opposition occupies a large part of its parliament, which will surely bring problems, perhaps bringing the country to a civil war in which the United States would intervene. The growing tensions in the Middle East, principally due to the conflict in Syria, the disputes between Iran and Saudi Arabia owing to the conflict in Yemen, the confrontation between Israel and Palestine, the crisis in China, and the incessant fall of the markets due to oil, the constant arrival of refugees in Europe at a rate of 2,000 people per day, and that all of this is setting the scene for a war on a grand scale, in which of course would be implicated the United States, Russia, China, Europe, and the rest of NATO. We will see that there is a huge probability that we are right now facing a third world war. And just the same as in previous world wars, behind this war there will be interests. If we look at it from a political standpoint, the US needs to ensure its control of countries rich in oil, such as Venezuela and Iran, in order to maintain its crown as the world's principal economic power, in the face of the advance of China, which only in a few years could topple the North American empire. China and Russia are aiming to end the hegemony of the United States, forging commercial agreements with the same countries that the White House wants to invade. Now we will take a look over the heads of the political class, at the economic financial elite composed of families such as the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the Morgans, that through their financial institutions, such as banks and companies, control the system, and of course, the puppet politicians that we elect at the ballot box. What interest could these bankers and businessmen have in a nuclear world war, which would surely leave them no economic benefit? According to certain famous personalities, such as David Rockefeller and Bill Gates, we are facing an incessant rise in the world population. We are already almost 8 billion people in a planet of finite natural resources. These people talk openly of the need to reduce the population, and because of that, we can assume that one of the primary objectives of this Third World War will be to reduce the planet's citizenship. Nothing will achieve that quicker than a global war. Another objective pursued by the architects of this new world conflict would be to finish with states and sink once and for all the world economy. This will provoke chaos amongst the citizenship, producing massive revolts which will destroy law and order in each country, leaving political power vacuums in every state. For the powers that be, it is vital to leave human beings fundamentally broken, economically, politically, socially and morally, like a ship adrift without sails. And why do they want to achieve all this? According to what political and economic figures have been saying for some time, these objectives would be intended to achieve the ultimate goal of those who rule us, the creation of a world government. A world government as a solution to all the chaos that they themselves are provoking, in order to bring under their absolute control the entire global population. When the Third World War is talked about as a fact that will almost certainly occur, foretelling it even as an imminent event, the doubt arises about how and when this war will start. Sadly, the answers to both questions are known only to the elite that are going to provoke it. When exactly, we don't know, even though, given the critical situation that confronts us, it could be this year. How is simple. We only have to look at the number of conflicts that we have right now, the worsening of which would result in a direct confrontation between the world's great powers. However, others assert that what will actually cause the outbreak of this global war will be a self-inflicted nuclear attack in the territory of the United States or one of its allies, which will be blamed on the terrorist group ISIS and on Iran, arguing that Iran would have facilitated the nuclear armament of Islamic State. By producing these events, the US and its allies will have the pretense necessary for an invasion of Iran, which will force Russia and China to enter the conflict in its defense, unleashing other conflicts, like those in Ukraine, North and South Korea, Venezuela and Syria, the aforementioned Third World War. As for the terrorist group ISIS, otherwise known as Daesh or Islamic State, it is important to note that, just like Al-Qaeda, it has been created and financed by the government of the United States and its allies to have the pretext necessary to invade those countries where those groups are based, and to make off with the natural resources contained within them. Not only for that, but also because ISIS plays a crucial role for the elite in its goal to provoke the Third World War. The big question which emerges about what will come to happen after the Third World War is who will step up to lead the supposed world government as the solution to all the chaos to come. Of course, we can doubt very strongly that it will be the same politicians and economic elites who will have been rejected utterly by the citizenship. So who, therefore? This last part that we need to tell you sounds extremely strange, almost absurd, and as such we present it only as a theory, a hypothesis about which you can choose, for the moment, whether to believe or not, but we'd recommend that you don't forget it, so that if it comes to pass you won't fall prey to the trap. We don't live only in a criminal and murderous system, but also in a system that hides. A system that conceals from us the cure for diseases such as cancer. That hides from us genetic experiments on animals and human beings. And of course, that hides from us technological advances that would be difficult for us to believe. What would you think if we told you that the technology which we are used to seeing in science fiction films already existed, having been created by governments? It would sound crazy, no? But to tell the truth, it is believed that the Nazis were the pioneers who created this class of technology, called anti-gravity technology, which afterwards passed into the hands of Americans who, after the Second World War, took with them numerous Nazi scientists to extract their knowledge and advances. And what does all of this have to do with the Third World War? According to certain sources, that world government which will be offered to us as a solution is going to be introduced via a fake alien landing, which will bring with it the anti-gravity technology already created by governments and hidden from the public eye, together with humanoid beings created in laboratories, which has been possible thanks to genetic manipulation. We want to leave you absolutely clear that this alien landing will be fake, that these beings will not be from other worlds as they appear to be. Of course, this last part of the video makes it sound like the entire video comes from a fictional film. And of course, it could take away from the credibility of the main content. However, as we have already said, we present it as a theory alone. A theory that, however, if we consider and analyse in depth, makes sense. Seeing it in the context of the system in which we live, which bombards us constantly with films, music, video games about life on other planets, almost as if they were trying to convince us of such an idea. Moreover, it could make sense if we imagine again the point at which, following the Third World War, we are left with such absolute devastation and misery that it would be impossible to return to put our faith in political leaders and economic institutions. We would need to believe in something or someone which had never before been tarred by our political and economic system, which perhaps was not even from our world. Think about this hypothesis. For more information, please see our full video by clicking the following link.